They've witnessed death, loss, and destruction. The children of Gaza bearing the brunt of Israel's war. Children make up nearly half of the population in the besieged strip, and the UN has described it as the most dangerous place in the world to be a child.
We want to live, we want peace.
A month into the war, they pleaded for protection, saying all they wanted was to live as other children live. But their desperate calls for help went unheard, and the bombs did not stop. Since then, at least 44% of the Palestinians killed in this war have been children. For those who survived, the scars stretch far beyond the physical. Many have lost one or both parents. Nearly 19,000 are now orphans. And from the horrors of war, a grim acronym emerged. WCNSF, Wounded Child No Surviving Family, marked on the tiny bodies of those who survived. Many other children are maimed for life. Health officials say child amputees account for 18% of all recorded amputation cases in Gaza.
Gaza now has the highest number of child amputees per capita anywhere in the world. Many are losing their limbs in scenarios such as this. They're undergoing surgeries without anesthesia.
Their scars are a permanent reminder of the wounds that will outlast any ceasefire. But amid all the destruction, children in Gaza cling to hope, as fragile as it might be, longing for a return of childhood stolen by genocide. Lina, Akleh, Jazeera.
Rosalia Bollen is from UNICEF and joins us now from the Mawasi camp in Gaza. Ms. Bollen, good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. Thanks for your time. Aid agencies who've been helping the Palestinians may have been relieved that there was a ceasefire in the offing. I'm sure that's going to happen, as many of our commentators have said, in the next few hours. The problem, though, that you do face is getting that aid into the region where you are and its distribution in an area that is war-torn.
Absolutely. No, the challenges ahead are tremendous. A ceasefire is a very, very critical first step that is necessary to save children's lives. Children continue to be killed here in Gaza, including after the announcement of a deal to secure a ceasefire. At least 30 children have been reported killed since that deal was announced. So it is a critical first step. But when it comes to the enormous suffering and the total deprivation that they face, a ceasefire on its own isn't going to take that suffering away. There's tremendous challenges here inside Gaza in relation to the security environment.
So, Ms. Bollen, can I just jump in there? Because I'll take that one by one if you don't mind, because we're talking about a ceasefire that's in a holding pattern right now. While it is, an agency like yourselves have to deal with the Israelis on the outside of Gaza because you need their permission to move your aid in. Is a conversation happening right now, or has it been happening for the last few days, as far as your colleagues can tell you?
The United Nations are indeed in constant touch with all the parties. Not us here on the ground in Gaza. We execute, we implement, but those conversations are indeed happening. They are taking place. It's a very weird limbo to be in. Here in Mawasi at 8:30, just about an hour ago, there were children out, there were families out. They started celebrating. I saw children waving and cheering and dancing. But at the same time, I could hear continued shooting, very heavy weapons. I can hear explosions. I can hear drones flying over. So clearly the fighting is ongoing. The ceasefire isn't there yet, and that's absolutely heartbreaking for these children. It's nerve-wracking for the families, but it's heartbreaking because these children over the past couple of days, they've been detailing to me all the things they would love to do the moment that a ceasefire starts. They want to go back home, see what's left of their bedroom. They want to sleep in their own bed. They want to find the toys that they've had to leave behind when the war started. So it's a very odd moment to be in. That also applies to my own colleagues. We have supplies ready to be brought into Gaza. We have the equivalent of supplies of 1,300 truckloads of supplies. And here in Mawasi, my colleagues from the supply team, they are on standby. They're waiting for the news of this ceasefire to take effect. We'll jump into our cars and we'll head over to the crossing to fetch those supplies.
Sure, indeed. Of course, you will do that. But again, we have to sort of talk about the mechanisms that are around getting aid into the region. It has not been easy, has it, for your agency or any other? I mean, UNRWA was the overarching UN agency that would help everybody make sure that they would actually get their aid in. I mean, how difficult is it to get the aid in? Because it is roadblocked, you might say, outside of Gaza.
Absolutely. The operating environment for humanitarian organizations like UNICEF and others simply hasn't been there throughout this war. The total insecurity, but also the destruction of infrastructure here in Gaza has made it extremely difficult for us to bring supplies in, but not just that, also to be able to distribute them to families in need throughout Gaza. Now that a ceasefire might take effect, some of the constraints will indeed be removed, but many others will persist. I just mentioned the complete the destruction, really, of infrastructure here in Gaza. The roads and facilities that are still intact are actually badly damaged. And just to give one example, when we go out in our cars to go to project sites, it's quite hard to maneuver around because of the holes in the road, because of the congestion. That will continue to remain a brave challenge here for the foreseeable future. All those roads won't be patched up overnight. The warehousing capacity that we had pre-war needs to be restored. If we are to scale up the number of supplies that we want to bring in, we will also need more warehouses. I would also like to
Rosalia, can I just jump in there? Can I
just
jump in there, because the communication is getting a little bit wobbly. So I just want to ask another final question. In terms of the needs and wants right now of Palestinians in the middle of winter, especially for children, what aid is required and what aid is at the border waiting to come in to help them?
The aid that needs to enter Gaza immediately really stretches across different areas. We talk about shelter, warm shelter, because people live in makeshift tents that don't keep families safe and protected against the cold. They don't keep families warm. We need food and nutrition items to come in. Hunger has been increasing throughout Gaza, very severe hunger, and there's tens of thousands of children with acute malnutrition. We need items to repair the water infrastructure system here, because lack to clean water is virtually non-existent. We need hygiene items for people to be able to wash themselves. Even things like a bar of soap have become hard to find, and when it is in the market, it's usually not affordable. But some of the aid that children in Gaza need is not aid that we can bring onto trucks. Every single child in Gaza today is deeply, deeply scarred and traumatized by what they've witnessed. They've gone through things that no child should ever have to witness, and they are in dire need of psychosocial support and a return to normalcy, the ability to go back to school. There's planes flying over, the ability to go back to school, to restore a sense of normalcy and psychosocial support, to be able to process the trauma and the experiences that they have lived.
Rosalia Bollen there, communications specialist with UNICEF. It's been good to speak to you from Mawasi. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.